My name is Matt Peterson from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and our production company is Two Larrys LLC.
And my name is Ryan Turry. I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and Two Larrys LLC is the production company.
The project we're on now is Abe Makes a Movie. It's a shirt. It's a comedy we wrote together this time. We wrote it, been writing on about a year, and we are just in pre-production right now. So,
yeah.
And Ryan, tell us about the crowdfunding campaign you've run.
So when we finished writing Abe Makes a Movie, we thought of ways that we could make money to raise the money to do it, and crowdfunding was pretty popular then, and so we thought, well, we want to do a crowdfunding campaign that's different than most people just sitting in front of the camera and asking you for money, and so we focused on creating, engaging content with our audience, and then we had a lot of parties. We had a 30-day time limit that we set up, and then we had events throughout the month, and we just tried to keep people engaged with what we were doing, keep it fresh in people's minds. Mm-hmm. So I think the biggest challenge for filmmakers, and I think even outside of New Mexico, is definitely finding financing for projects. I think it's definitely a difficult thing to do. It's accomplishable, but so many people are doing it. I think making movies is more accessible than it's ever been, so which gives everyone the opportunity to actually do it. But now we're in this place where to create quality content and to create films that we can get out there in the world, I think financing is probably the most difficult, and that's at least what we've encountered. But I don't know. We planted a money tree, and we're waiting for that thing to grow.
Keep watering it every day. I've been such a fan of film and stories for so long. My mother is like an avid reader, and I don't read nearly as much as she does. I just substitute it with movies. And I just think it's the coolest platform because it's so visual, and I believe I'm a fairly visual person, so it's my favorite platform for storytelling. And I mean, if you're sitting in a movie theater watching it or watching at home and you're really engaged in it, I think you really can get into it, and it's just something to be a part of that I really like, especially in a film platform, I think.
What does it do for you?
I don't, just to get lost in that story, I think. I sometimes, more than sometimes, go to the movies by myself, I guess, because I want to be just there for whatever it is. And if it's a relatable story to something that happened to you, or you're just getting away and you want to see something about, if you want to see a story, a comedy or a drama or a history piece or something, I think just sitting there and getting lost in it, that's what it does for me. I really enjoy it. So.
Same question for you, Ryan.
Yeah. What was the question again?
What does storytelling do for you? Why do you do it?
Why I storytell? I like telling stories because I think I find stories more interesting than my life that it is right now. I've always kind of lived in a world of make-believe. When I was a kid, I used to make up these just fantastical, I don't know if that's a real word, lies about like what life I lived. So I always liked telling and capturing people's attention. So I like it. And really, I just don't know what else to do than tell stories. Yeah, I think, like I said, I've been back for a year now. I've been kind of back and forth for the last 10 years. But from where I see it, I think it's still in its infancy. I think there's a lot of talented people here, a lot of creative people. But I think it's just kind of, we need to get it focused and get all those people working together and make the content and make the projects for ourselves instead of relying on, Hollywood to come in or somebody else to come in and create those projects for us. I think if we could get everybody together in one way or another and kind of tap into each other's creativity, then it'll flourish. But I think it's still new, which I keep saying, I think that's the coolest part about it, is that because it is so new, that we have this ability to grow it together and create a really cool industry where we're all thinking of each other and we're all helping each other out.
Yeah, I think I just kind of reiterate what he said. I think we need to be the sustainable films, independent films, as not just ours but everybody's. I mean, and then when they come, big films like you said, come to New Mexico to shoot, we already have this this thriving scene and with so many filmmakers. And I think just like Ryan said, working together and using each other as resources to make each one of our projects even better and better. I think then we can stand alone and we don't have to have. And there's nothing wrong with big productions coming because there's so many jobs and it helps a lot of people and it might launch careers for people. But I think we need to, independent filmmakers, I think, in town need to be the legs and the sustainability for films here in the state. You know, it's I can speak from our Bigfoot election and this project that we're pre-producing right now, but we've just met so many great people, and people are really supportive, and we've met a ton of people that are, you know, want to help any way they can. So there's a good, huge sense of community right there, and also it's been fun. I mean, this whole writing this project or writing this film together with Ryan and just kind of taking off after the whole thing, it's just been a great. We're just telling a story, a fun, silly story, and it's a blast. It's a lot of work, but it's all worth it. So.
Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, I love making movies in New Mexico. I think it's, one, the scenery makes your job much easier. It's so eclectic, and there is a lot of support for it. You know, I don't think there's many people jaded by the industry, so they're happy to open their doors and encourage you, and so I think that's really cool. I think there's a lot of good people here with the right attitude, and I think that makes making movies, you know, a lot more fun and a lot more worth it in the end, you know. So, yeah, I think it's just, and I love Albuquerque. I mean, it's fun to be able to make a movie in the place that you live and love it. So, I think if people knew a little bit more what differentiates independent films here in New Mexico from what studio pictures are, pictures, that sounds so old school, but, you know, studio movies, I think then they would have an understanding of, you know, it's a big difference when, say, Breaking Bad's here and it's a great show, but at some point it's going to have a shelf life and it's going to leave, unfortunately, you know, and these studio movies that come in, they're going to leave at some point. And if we can nurture those independent films and be aware that there's artists that are just starting out and they're not at the level of, you know, Universal Pictures, they will be someday, but they're at the place now where we need each other's help. I think that would start to make and help, you know, these independent filmmakers. So I think that probably mostly is just kind of knowing that there is a difference in, you know, that's kind of grassroots what people are doing. They're making these handmade, homemade films, it feels like, you know, with, you know, on Bigfoot election, my mom was craft services, my dad was boom, and my wife was, you know, running Dolly sometimes. So it's like, you know, that's independent film where you're just finding everyone who's willing to help. And I think with that awareness, people would, I don't know, maybe just look at it differently.
The support's there, and the difference is that, like they're going to come and go, and everybody's going to be still making films, all of us, independent filmmakers, and it's super important.
Yeah.
If one final thought for you each, Matt?
I think everybody should definitely support independent filmmakers because we all need it, and we need each other to, like I said earlier, to sustain the film business here in New Mexico. And yeah.
That's good.
It was horrible.
That was good. They'll edit.
Yeah, it was great.
That's the best part about it.
Let's get the talky part and then everything else.